Shalom. This is Deacon DeForest Smith with the House of the Lost Sheep of Israel and the King James Bible University. And today's teaching is titled Vain Imaginations of the Camps of the Dead. There is a flood of false doctrine out here upon men, many deceivers that will have you putting your trust and love in vain things that will not profit us anything towards spiritual understanding and knowledge. We must always be watchful or mindful about who we let feed us, teach us, and guide us in this life. Mostly we can't fall to the deception of what we see and like in the outer appearances of these so-called truth teachers, because it's not about the flesh, but what is the intentions and wisdom that's within on the inner man that you can't see but can understand through the actions of wisdom given from the vessel. And we're going to go to Isaiah 28, verse 1. Woe to the crown of pride, to the drunkards of Ephraim, whose glorious beauty is a fading flower, which are on the head of the fat valleys of them that are overcome with wine. Verse 3. The crown of pride, the drunkards of Ephraim shall be trodden under feet. So their desires is what's going to carry them away from the truth. And in verse 4, and the glorious beauty which is on the head of the fat valley shall be a fading flower, and as the hasty fruit before the summer, which when he that looketh upon it seeth, while it is yet in his hand, he eateth it up. In verse 5, in that day shall the Spirit of God of hosts be for a crown of glory and for a diadem of beauty unto the residue of his people. So we're going to have a choice to either choose the beauty, the law of the Spirit of God, or the beauty that's with, or the carnal beauty that you see, which is vanity upon men. Verse 6, and for a spirit of judgment to him that sitteth in judgment, and for strength to them that turn the battle to the gate. Verse 7, but they also have erred through wine, and through strong drink are out of the way. The priest and the prophet have erred through strong drink. They are swallowed up of wine. They are out of the way through strong drink. They err in vision. They stumble in judgment, teachings, and doctrines. So that's why they come up with their own doctrines and judgments, because they are out of the way and they're drunk. They're drunkards, full of pride and false deceits. Verse 8, for all tables are full of vomit and filthiness, so that there is no place clean. Verse 9, whom shall he teach knowledge, and whom shall he make to understand doctrine? Them that are weaned from the milk and drawn from the breast. So we're going to come out of those hellholes and those places of deceit that are unclean and come to the truth, so we can be weaned from the milk of the Gentiles, what they produce, and be and get the understanding of wisdom, which is planted in us through the word, the seed. verse 12. To whom he said, this is the rest wherewith you may cause the weary to rest, and this is the refreshing. Yet they would not hear. But the word of the Spirit, 13, but the word of the Spirit of God was unto them precept upon precept, precept upon precept, line upon line upon line, here a little and there a little, that they might go and fall backwards and be broken and snared and taken. Because if you don't fall in line with the wisdom and the understanding given through precepts, then you will fall away backwards and you will be trapped in those unclean places and snared by the imaginations of your vanity of your imaginations. In verse 14, this is the warning. Wherefore hear the word of the Spirit of God, ye scornful men that rule this people which is in Jerusalem. So let's go to Romans chapter 3, verse 11 through 14. And this is what's in those unclean places where they are snared and fallen away. This is the outcome. There is none that understandeth, there is none that seeketh after Yahweh, the God of Israel. They are all gone out of the way. They are together become unprofitable. There is none that doeth good, no, not one. So they don't speak the words of truth, because we know that's the only thing that's good upon this earth. Their throat is an open sepulchre. With their tongues they have used deceit. The poison of asp is under their lips. So once you receive those words coming out of those dead things, those dead vessels, those men of deceit, those men of vain imaginations, then you will be pricked with poison of that asp, of that snake, that serpent with the split tongue doctrine. Verse 14, whose mouth is full of cursing and bitterness. And this is what you see them doing on those corners. They will curse you out and they will make your life bitter. They make others bitter that they believe are not of Israel because of their pride and their drunkenness. Matthew chapter 23, verse 27 through 28 and 33 through 34. These are modern day Pharisees that teach on corners and want to be seen by the masses so that they can deceive you into believing they are the prophets of truth and the prophets of Jehovah. But we must not judge on the outer appearance, but focus and be mindful and watch what comes out of their mouth. And we must be strong in the truth, in the word of truth through the precepts, so that we can be able to discern righteousness or vanity of vain imaginations. Woe unto you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites, for you are like unto white sepulchres, which indeed appear, which in works appear beautiful outward. That's why they set up camps every Sabbath, every Friday night, to appear like they have the knowledge of the law of righteousness, but are within full of dead men's bones and of all uncleanness. Verse 28. Even so ye also outwardly appear righteous unto men, but within you are full of hypocrisy and iniquity. 33 through 34. Ye serpents, ye generation of vipers, how can ye escape the damnation of hell? Because they're caught up in this life, and they caught up in carnal things that they've read from the people of this world. Wherefore, behold, remember I send unto you prophets and wise men and scribes, and some of them ye shall kill and crucify, and some of them shall ye scourge in your synagogues and persecute them from city to city. And this is what is the outcome when you have the knowledge of the truth and you try to go and turn them from their vanities and their pride. They will mock you, they will kill you with their words to try to make you feel like you don't have the truth and kill that seed and deceive you and have you turn away from what you know is right. But you got to stay strong in faith and know and keep what you know to be true, like Elder Lynn says. Ezekiel 37, verse 1 and 2. And these are example of one of those prophets that he sent to diligently teach those that are in those dead camps and have vain imaginations, but are seeking for truth. The hand of the Spirit of God was upon me and carried me out in the spirit of of Jehovah, and set me down in the midst of the valley, which was full of bones, and caused me to pass by them round about, and remember there were very many in the open valley, and lo, they were very dry. And they have many camps out there, even those that have left camps, but still use their vain imaginations after leaving those places to teach of false doctrine. It's a whole lot. It's too many out there. It's crazy how if you just go and search how many doctrines you will find and new doctrines that appear every day. Isaiah 55, 1 through 3, 6 through 9, and 11. Everyone seems to know the truth, but are far away from the truth and don't know anything at all because they don't use precepts and they use other books for references of the heritage of Israel when he only gave it to one people to pass down from generation to generation. Ho, everyone that thirsteth, come ye to the waters, and he that hath no money, come ye, buy, learn, and eat, and learn. Yea, come, buy wine and milk without money and without price. But these people that have vain imaginations, these leaders of these dead places, these dead camps, will charge you an arm and a leg to become one of their disciples, to learn from what they've learned from other men that had no understanding of scripture, that never had wisdom, never used precepts to get understanding. Verse 2, wherefore do you spend money for that which is not bread, and your labor for that which satisfieth not. Hearken diligently unto me, and eat, learn ye that which is good, and let your soul delight itself in fatness. Incline your ear, and come unto me. Hear, and your soul shall live, and I will make an everlasting covenant with you, even the sure mercies of David, of his beloved. Verse 6, seek ye the Spirit of God while he may be found, because once you expire from this world, from this earth, you will be judged for not trying to find what is truth, because that is what we are required to do while upon this earth. Seek for that which is good and eat upon it so that we can grow in faith and in truth. Call ye upon him while he is near, because he is far from dead things. So while you are in the land of living, we must those clean up our inner man and learn of his knowledge and wisdom and build up our uh our vessels so that he can dwell in us and we can know of him. Speaking of Jehovah, let the wicked forsake his way and the unrighteous man his thoughts, and let him return unto the Spirit of God, and he will have mercy upon him, and to our guide, for he will abundantly pardon. Verse 8, and this is why we must seek after wisdom. For my thoughts are not your thoughts, neither are your ways my ways, said the Spirit of God. For as the heavens are higher than the earth, so are my ways higher than your ways, and my thoughts than your thoughts. So there's no way for us to even see the knowledge or reach for the knowledge, but we must humble ourselves and seek out knowledge through precepts in the scriptures that was given, that came down from heaven, that manna. He's giving it to us. If we just obey and humbly obey what is truth and not run after vanity, our own imaginations. Verse 11, so shall my word be that goeth forth out of my mouth. It shall not return unto me void, but it shall accomplish that which I please, and it shall prosper in the thing whereto I sent it. So he's waiting on us to receive his word in our hearts and be filled with that water, that knowledge, so that it can produce fruits in a tree, a lively garden in you. Second Esdras chapter 7, verse 16 and 21. Why hast thou not considered in thy mind this thing that is to come, rather than which is present? Because our vain imaginations will have us choose what we see instead of having the faith and which is the hope and expectations of things to come. Verse 21, for Yahweh, our guide, have given straight commandment to such as came, what they should do to live, even as they came, and what they should observe to avoid punishment. And we seen that in Isaiah 28. the precept upon precept, line upon line up. Those are the straight commandments. And we must keep those and live. Jeremiah chapter 28, verse 13 through 16. But the prideful will not hearken. They will always lean to their own understanding and not put their trust in truth. Go and tell Hakai, saying, thus says the Spirit of God, thou hast broken the yokes of wood, but thou shalt make for them yokes of iron. And this was what men will do to you. They will put you under bondage of them, because Jehovah's yoke is light, but they will deceive you and have you take off that yoke and put on a stronger yoke, which they will deceive you and make you believe that it's lighter, but it's actually not. It's not giving you any substance or strength. For thus says the Spirit of God of hosts, the God of Israel, I have put a yoke of iron upon the neck of all these nations, that they may serve Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, and they shall serve him. And I have given him the beasts of the field also. Then said the prophet Jeremiah unto Hananiah the prophet, hear now, Hakai, the Spirit of God hath not sent thee, but thou makest this people to trust in a lie. Therefore, thus says the Spirit of God, behold, remember, I will cast thee from off the face of the earth. This year thou shalt die, because thou hast taught rebellion against the Spirit of God. And they will not turn from their vanities, because they are prideful. And in dead things they put their trust. They worship men, and they love vanity. They love things that will not profit thee, but will destroy thee in the end. Second Esdras chapter 7, verse 19 through 20, 22, and 22 through 27. And he said unto me, there is no judge, teacher above Yahweh, and none that have understanding above the highest. Verse 20, for there be many that perish in this life, because they despise the law of Yahweh that is set before them. Verse 22, nevertheless, they were not obedient unto him, but spake against him, and imagined vain things, and deceived themselves by their wicked deeds, and said of the Most High that he is not, and knew not his ways. But his law have they despised. They despise the Spirit. They despise the covenant. They tell you we're not under the covenant, but we're under the law of flesh, and denied his covenants. In his statutes have they not been faithful, and have not performed his works. And they believe that his works is going out on the corner, or helping keep lies and deception upon this earth and upon Israel. Those are their works. But our works should be in spirit and in truth, learning the righteousness of Jehovah, and not our own righteousness, which are filthy rags. Verse 25, and therefore, Esdras, for the empty are empty things, and for the full are the full things. So which one are you going to be? We must make that decision now, or we'll be caught in that valley of dry bones, lacking the knowledge, the water that will profit us, and that manna that will revive us to our remembrance of Israel. Verse 26, behold, remember the time shall come that these tokens which I have told thee shall come to pass, and the bride shall appear, and she coming forth shall be seen, that now is withdrawn from the earth. But will they see it? Will you be able to see it? Because it's not going to be seen with the carnal eye. You have to have a spiritual understanding to see these things, to get the understanding that now is withdrawn from the earth. Verse 27, and whosoever is delivered from the foresaid evils shall see my wonders. Those that are drawn from the breast and weaned from the milk. So let's go to 2nd Esdras, chapter 3, verse 1 through 4, 7 through 13, verse 16, and verse 20 through 23. And keep in mind, verse 27 of 2nd Ezra chapter 7, whosoever is delivered from the foresaid evils shall see my wonders. In the 30th year after the ruin of the city, I was in Babylon, and lay troubled upon my bed, and my thoughts came up over my heart. For I saw the desolation of Zion, and the wealth of them that dwelt at Babylon, and my spirit was sore moved, so that I began to speak words full of fear, full of desire to the Most High, and said, O Creator, who bears rule, thou spakest at the beginning when thou didst plant the earth, and that thyself alone, and commandest the people. And verse 7, and unto him thou gavest commandment to love thy way, which he transgressed, and immediately thou appointedst death in him and in his generations, of whom came nations, tribes, people, and kindreds out of number. And every people walked after their own will, and did wonderful things before thee, and despised thy commandments. So we see that the people walked after their own will, same as today. They walk after the 12 tribes chart, speaking lies and hypocrisies about who your father is. But we should always seek the Father of Spirit through Jehovah, and not our fleshly fathers, which walked after their own will and did wonderful things before thee, and despised thy commandments. So why does it matter who your father is when it's all vanity and vain? We must seek after the truth. And this is what we must speak to those that are lost in the world. And again, in process of time, thou broughtest the flood upon those that dwelt in the world, and destroys them. And this we can also see which is those foresaid evils and his wonders. Because the flood of doctrine is out there. Like I said before, you could just go and look and see what type of doctrines that men have made of vain imaginations. They're even talking about, I bet you soon enough, it's going to be another book they find from that river, the Euphrates River that is drying up over there in the Middle East. They're going to find all type of things and establishing all types of different doctrines coming out of that that dry river. And it came to pass in every of them that as death was to Adam, so was the flood to these, because they believe in vain things, vain imaginations, instead of leaning upon that rock and taking hold of that rock that will get them out of that flood. Nevertheless, one of them thou leftest, namely Noah, the comforter, with his household, of whom came all righteous men, because the comforter shall teach us and show us all things that we need to understand so that we can have this insight to stay out of those floods and build up us a spiritual house to so that Jehovah can dwell in and comfort us through all the sad perils of this life. And verse 12, and it happened that when they that dwelt upon the earth began to multiply and had gotten them many children, the works, and were a great people, they began again to be more ungodly than the first. Now, when they lived so wickedly before thee, thou didst choose thee a man from among them, whose name was Abraham. And unto him thou gavest Isaac, and unto Isaac also thou gavest Jacob and Esau. As for Jacob, thou didst choose him to thee, and put by Esau. And so Jacob became a great multitude. And yet tookest thou not, verse 20, I'm sorry, and yet tookest thou not away from them a wicked heart, that thy law might bring forth fruit in them. Because we have to till that ground ourselves. We have to put in that work of righteousness and clean up our fields and be able to produce what is right, what is required, and what Jehovah is looking for, and to be produced in those from that seed that is planted within us. Verse 21, for the first Adam, man and woman, mankind, male and female, I'm sorry, bearing a wicked heart, transgressed and was overcome. They wasn't tilling that ground. They was just letting all things grow up in them. The thorns and the briars, so that they were overcome with vain imaginations and their own deceits. And so be all they that are born of him. And this is why we must be born again through the Spirit, because the flesh will not profit us. It will be burnt in the barn and not be received, because flesh and blood does not inherit the kingdom of heaven. Thus infirmity was made permanent, and the law also in the heart of the people with the malignity of the root, so that the good departed away and the evil abode still. So the times passed away and the years were brought to an end. Then didst thou raise thee up a servant called David. 1 Samuel chapter 16, verse 4 through 7 and 12. And even when it says David, we must not look upon the outer, but what's inside David, what was inside of David. But you see these vain people of imaginations, they will worship David because of his skin color, because they believe that they have the same skin color. But do you have the same heart as David? Do you have the same will as David to serve Jehovah and endure to the end? Verse 4, and Samuel did that which the Spirit of God spake, and came to Bethlehem. And the elders of the town trembled at his coming and said, comest thou peaceably? And he said, peaceably I am come to sacrifice, to establish a covenant unto the Spirit of God. Sanctify yourselves and come with me to the sacrifice, to the established covenant. And he sanctified, separated Jesse and his sons, and called them to the established covenant. And it came to pass when they were come that he looked on Eliab and said, surely the Lord, the Spirit of God's anointed, is before him. Verse 7, but the Spirit of God said unto Samuel, look not on his countenance or on the height of his stature, because I have refused him. Same as he refused these camps and these Christians that dress up and act like they're holy, but inside they're full of dead man's bones. For man looketh on the outer appearance. Oh, I'm sorry. Because I have refused him. For the Spirit of God seeth not as man seeth, because his ways are not our ways, and his knowledge is higher than our knowledge. For man looketh on the outer appearance, but the Spirit of God looketh on the heart. And he sent and brought him in, which he's speaking about David, his beloved. Now he was ready and withal of a beautiful countenance and goodly to look to. And the Lord said, arise, anoint him, for this is he. But was he really talking about what he looks like, his physical appearance? The camps will tell you that ready means red or the physical appearance of a person. But it just said in verse 7, look not on his countenance or on the height of his stature. For the Spirit of God seeth not as man seeth. For man looketh on the outer appearance, that those 12 tribes chart, but the Spirit of God looketh on the heart. What you are studying and what you are eating and digesting to feed that seed that's within. Are you going to corrupt the seed, or are you going to nurture and produce fruitful works with that seed? And that's what makes the beautiful countenance. When it, like as a tree, when a tree is grown to its full development and you see that beauty of when the wind blows through it, or the beauty when it blossoms. There are many false teachers that teach according to what they see in scripture, but we must get our understanding through the precepts given, which is the onion or layers of knowledge behind the actual word written, which takes diligence and faith to get the understanding. Jehovah didn't choose David because he was black and good to look at like most men judge, teach, but Jehovah looks upon the inner man which is in the heart. 1 Samuel chapter 2, verse 2 through 4. There is none holy as the Spirit of God, for there is none beside thee, neither is there any rock like our God. Speaking of Jehovah, Christ. Talk no more so exceedingly proudly. Let not arrogancy come out of your mouth. For the Spirit of God is a guide of knowledge, and by him actions are weighed. The bows of the mighty men are broken, and that stumbled, and they that stumbled are girded with strength. Hebrews 11, verse 1. Now faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. And we hope to be Israel. We have faith. We build our faith up by learning through the book of remembrance of Israel. And we build up that inner man so that we can hope to be chosen, that chosen few, to make it in and be accepted by the Father. Galatians chapter 3, verse 26. The camps will tell you, you Israel, because of your father. And because you're the seed of a black man, which is all vanity and vain imaginations. But it says in Galatians 3:26, for ye are all the children of Yahweh by faith in the anointed way of salvation. Jude chapter 1, verse 5, verse 8, verse 10 through 13, and 16 through 21. I will therefore put you in remembrance, though ye once knew this, how that the Creator, having saved the people out of the land of bondage, afterward destroyed them that believed not. They had no faith. Like verse 8, likewise also these filthy dreamers defile the flesh, despise dominion, and speak evil of dignities. Verse 10, but these speak evil of those things which they knew not, which they know not, but what they know naturally as brute beasts, in those things they corrupt themselves. Because we can we can understand that we are Israel of Israel through the scriptures if we're diligently doing the things of the spirit and not of the flesh. So they corrupt themselves because they do it backwards. They put the flesh before the spirit, and they are brute beasts, and they speak evil of those things which they know not. They know not the spirit which is within these prophets that are coming to teach and turn people away from vanity and their vain imaginations. Verse 11, woe unto them, for they have gone in the way of Cain. They're going to slay their brother. That's why they preach all day long that they hate Esau, and they have vain imaginations that Esau is the white man when he's actually in all Japhet. But they believe that because they don't study for themselves and they don't use precept upon precept. So they have fallen away backwards. And they're snared and taken away from the truth. And ran greedily after the error of Balaam for reward. They want that money. They want the worship of men. And they want their pride to be boasted, their pomp, and perished in the gainsaying of Korah. Verse 12, these are spots in your feast of charity and your learning gatherings of learning of charity, when they feast with you, when they learn with you, when they gather with you, feeding, teaching themselves without fear, without desire. Clouds they are without water, carried about of winds, trees whose fruit were withereth, without fruit, twice dead, plucked up by the roots. They have no foundation, they have no establishment, because Christ is supposed to be the vine, the root, and we are the branches that produce the works of that root, which is within the root. Verse 13, raging waves of the sea, foaming out their own shame, wandering stars to whom is reserved the blackness of darkness forever. Verse 16, these are murmurers, complainers, walking after their own lusts, and their mouth speak of great swelling words, having men's persons in admiration because of advantage. Yeah, they take advantage of the weak, and they put themselves up on a pedestal. Verse 17, but beloved, remember ye the words which were spoken before of the apostles of our Creator, salvation, the anointed one, how that they told you there should be mockers in the last time, who shall walk after their own ungodly lusts. These be they who separate themselves, sensual, having not the spirit. So we must take heed and understand that everyone that claims to be Israel is not of Israel. They don't have the spirit, but they are of the flesh, and they're not counted for the seed. Verse 20, but ye, beloved, building up yourselves on your most holy faith, praying in the Holy Ghost, that separated body. Keep yourselves in the promise of Yahweh, looking for the mercy of our Creator, salvation, the anointed one, unto eternal life. So we must endure to the end and keep that faith. Numbers 11, 1 through 2, and 4 through 6. And when the people complained, it displeased the Spirit of God, and the Spirit of God heard it, and his anger was kindled, and the fire of the Spirit of God burnt among them, and consumed them that were in the uttermost parts of the camp. So you better get out of those camps. And the people cried unto Moses, and when Moses prayed unto the Spirit of God, the fire was quenched. And the mixed multitude that was among them fell a lusting. And the children of Israel also wept again and said, who shall give us flesh to eat? This is what they desire more than the spirit, but the flesh is not going to profit you anything. We remember the fish which we did eat, learn in Egypt freely. And they want to put that yoke of iron back on you. The cucumbers and the melons and the leeks and the onions and the garlic, bitterness, they love it. But now our souls is dried away. There is nothing at all besides this manna before our eyes, before our understanding. So in their understanding, the manna is nothing, but their delights are in the things of bondage and in the things of men instead of the things that is actually freely given, which is the gift of God, that manna that comes down from heaven, that he gives us each and every day to be filled with, to restore our faith and restore our knowledge and understanding and the wisdom that is within unto the remembrance of Israel. And because of this, they choose the flesh over the spirit. Let's go to Hosea chapter 4, 6 through 10. My people are destroyed for lack of knowledge. They're not receiving that manna. Because thou hast rejected knowledge, I will also reject thee, that thou shalt be no priest to me. Seeing thou hast forgotten the law of thy guide, I will also forget thy children. As they were increased, so they sinned against me. Therefore will I change their glory into shame. They eat up the sin of my people, which is what they remember, what they ate in Egypt freely. And they set their heart on their iniquity. And there shall be like people, like priests, and I will punish them for their ways and reward them their doings. For they shall eat and not have enough. They shall commit whoredom and shall not increase, because they have left off to take heed to the Spirit of God. Psalms chapter 31, verse 23 through 24. Oh, love the Spirit of God, all ye his saints. For the Spirit of God preserveth the faithful, and plentifully rewardeth the proud doer. Be of good courage, and he shall strengthen your heart, all ye that hope in the Spirit of God, that have faith in the Spirit of God. Romans 9, 6 through 8. And we must keep in mind, God does not judge the outer appearance, but he judged the inner, your heart. Not as though the word of God, not as though the word of God have taken none effect, for they are not all Israel which are of Israel. neither because they are the seed of Abraham are they all children, but in Isaac that token shall thy seed be called. That is, they which are the children of the flesh, these are not the children of Yahweh, but the children of the promise are counted for the seed. Nehemiah chapter 9, verse 7 through 8. And we must not just claim Abraham, but we must be faithful like Abraham. Thou art thou perfection and beauty, the Spirit of God, the guide who didst choose Abram and broughtest him forth out of Ur of the Chaldees and gavest him the name of Abraham. So will you be brought forth out of those dead places and out of those dry places? And foundest his heart faithful before thee, and madest a covenant with him to give the land of the Canaanites, the Hittites, the Amorites, and the Perizzites, and the Jebusites, and the Girgashites, to give it, I say, to his seed, those that have the works of spirit and truth, those that have the faith of a mustard seed, as Abraham did, and has performed thy words, for thou art righteous. For thou perfection and beauty is righteous. Second Corinthians chapter 5, 7 through 9. For we walk by faith, not by sight. We are confident, I say, and willing rather to be absent from the body and to be present with the Creator. Wherefore we labor that whether present or absent, we may be accepted of him. And we can go to Exodus 12. Let's just hit 38, 40, and 41. And a mixed multitude went up also with them, and flocks and herds, even very much cattle. And we must always be mindful that we walk by faith and not by sight. Now the sojourning of the children of Israel who dwelt in Egypt was 430 years. And it came to pass at the end of the 430 years, even the selfsame day it came to pass, that all the host of the Spirit of God went out from the land of Egypt. But we must also know that it was a mixed multitude, so everyone was not walking by faith. Some of them was just monkey see, monkey do. So when they got into the wilderness, all they remembered was the things back in Egypt. Their minds wasn't converted. Their mind wasn't renewed in the spirit. So that's why they were destroyed for a lack of faith. First Corinthians no, let's go to Matthew chapter 10, verse 39 and 40. He that findeth his life shall lose it, and he that loseth his life for my sake shall find it. He that receiveth you receiveth me, and he that receiveth me receiveth him that sent me. Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 15, 3 through 6. For to know thee is perfect righteousness, yea, to know thy power is the root of immortality. For neither did the mischievous invention of men deceive us, nor an image spotted with diverse colors, the painter's fruitless labor. Thus sight whereof enticeth fools to lust after it, like that 12 tribes chart, and their fringes and their Power Ranger suits and their fake meat trees and all these things that they put up on the outer men to have you enticed and lust after it, make you want to join in because you have um you have the desire to want to be of Israel, but you don't have the understanding and the discernment to know which way to go. And so they desire the form of a dead image that have no breath. Both they that make them, they that desire them, and they that worship them are lovers of evil things and are worthy to have such things to trust upon. But we know we must trust upon Jehovah and not lean to our own understanding. 2 Corinthians chapter 6, 14 through 18. Be ye not unequally yoked together with unbelievers. For what fellowship have righteousness with unrighteousness? So when you see an error or contrary things done according to scripture, then you know you're not in the right place. And what communion have light with darkness? And what concord hath the anointed one with an idol, Belial, fleshly works? Or what part have he that believeth with an infidel? And what agreement hath the temple of Yahweh with idols? For ye are the temple of the living God, as Yahweh has said, I will dwell in them and walk in them, and I will be their guide, and they shall be my people. Wherefore come out from among them and be ye separate, says the Creator, and touch not the unclean thing, and I will receive you, and will be a father unto you, and ye shall be my sons and daughters, says the Creator Almighty. Will you take heed and come out from among them? Mark 4 and 40. Will you be that one that's faithful and take that stride toward the Most High, like Abraham did, and leave all that you know in the land of Ur and of Chaldees, and come to a fruitful place where you can be built up in spirit and in faith? And he said unto them, why are ye so fearful? How is it that ye have no faith? Proverbs chapter 3, verse 5 through 6. Trust in the Spirit of God with all thine heart, and lean not unto thine own understanding. In all thy ways acknowledge him, and he shall direct thy paths. And let's show you what's directing our paths. Not a man, but wisdom of Solomon, chapter 18, verse 15 through 16. Thine almighty word leaped down from heaven out of thy royal throne as a fierce man of war into the midst of a land of destruction, and brought thine unfeigned commandment, thy straight commandment, what we should do to live, as a sharp sword, and standing up filled all things with death, and it touched the heaven, but it stood upon the earth. And we can go to Matthew 10:34. Think not that I am come to send peace on earth. I came not to send peace, but a sword. And that's that almighty word speaking through Yahweh. Colossians chapter 2, verse 8. Beware lest any man spoil you through philosophy and vain deceit, after the tradition of men, after the rudiments of the world, and not after Christ, the anointed one of Israel. Let's go to 1 Timothy chapter 4. 1 through 2, 7 through 9, 11 through 13, and 16. And this is what man will spoil you through philosophy and vain deceit. Now the Spirit speaketh expressly that in the latter times some shall depart from the faith, giving heed to seducing spirits and doctrines of devils, speaking lies and hypocrisy, having their conscience seared with an hot iron. Verse 7, refuse profane and old wives' fables, those Jewish fables, and exercise thyself rather unto godliness. For bodily exercise profiteth little, but godliness is profitable unto all things, having promise of the life that now is, and of that which is to come. This is a faithful saying and worthy of all acceptation. Verse 11, these things command and teach. Verse 12, let no man despise thy youth, but be thou an example of the believers in word, in conversation, in charity, in spirit, in faith, in purity. Till I come, give attendance to reading, to exhortation, to doctrine. Verse 16, take heed unto thyself and unto the doctrine. Continue in them, for in doing this thou shalt both save thyself and them that hear thee. Deuteronomy 32, verse 1 through 5, 7 through 9, and 15 through 21. Give ear, O ye heavens, and I will speak, and hear, O earth, the words of my mouth. My doctrine shall drop as the rain, my speech shall distill as the dew, as the small rain upon the tender herb, and as the showers upon the grass. Because I will publish the way of the Spirit of God. Ascribe ye greatness unto our God. He is the rock, his work is perfect. For all his ways are judgment, teachings, and doctrines, a God of truth and without iniquity. Just and right is he. They have corrupted themselves. Their spot is not the spot of his children. They are perverse and crooked generation. Verse 7, remember the days of old. Consider the years of many generations. Ask thy father, and he will show thee, thy elders, and they will tell thee. When the Most High divided to the nations their inheritance, when he separated the sons of Adam, he set the bounds of the people according to the number of the children of Israel. For the Spirit of God's portion is his people. Jacob is the lot of his inheritance. Verse 15. But Jeshurun waxed fat and kicked. Thou art waxen fat, thou art grown thick, thou art covered with fatness. Then he forsook Yahweh, which made him, and lightly esteemed the rock of his salvation. They provoked him to jealousy with strange gods. With abominations provoked they him to anger. They sacrificed unto devils. They established covenants unto devils, not to Yahweh, to gods whom they knew not, to new gods that came newly up, whom your fathers feared not. Of the rock that begot thee, thou art unmindful. They don't know who Christ is. They think Christ is a man, and have forgotten Yahweh that formed thee. How can a man form us? And how can God form himself in something that is unclean, something that he has cursed? He cursed the ground and he formed us from the ground. Verse 19, and when the Spirit of God saw it, he abhorred them because of the provoking of his servants and of his daughters. And he said, I will hide my face from them. I will see what their end shall be. For they are a very forward generation, children in whom is no faith. So our end is going to be destruction because we are saved by faith and trusting in Jehovah. They have moved me to jealousy with that which is not Yahweh. They have provoked me to anger with their vanities, and I will move them to jealousy with those which are not a people. I will provoke them to anger with a foolish nation. John 4:22 through 26. Ye worship ye know not what. We know what we worship, for salvation is of the Jews. But the hour cometh, and now is, when the true worshipers shall worship the Father in spirit and in truth. For the Father seeketh such to worship him. God is a spirit, and they that worship him must worship him in spirit and in truth. The woman said unto him, I know that Messiah is coming, which is called the Anointed One. When he is come, he will tell us all things. Salvation said unto her, not the man speaking, I that speak unto thee am he. That's wisdom speaking. And this is the last script for tonight. Joshua 23, verse 6 through 8, 11 through 13, 15 through 16. Be ye therefore very courageous to keep and to do all that is written in the book of the law of Moses, that ye turn not aside therefrom to the right hand or to the left, that ye come not among these nations, these that remain among you, neither make mention of the way of their gods, their idols, nor cause to swear by them, neither serve them, nor bow yourselves unto them, but cleave unto the Spirit of God your guide, as ye have done unto this day. Verse 11, take good heed therefore unto yourselves, that ye love promise the Spirit of God your guide. Else, if ye do in any wise go back and cleave unto the remnant of these nations, even these that remain among you, and shall make marriages with them, and go in unto them, and they to you, know for a certainty that the Spirit of God your guide will no more drive out any of these nations from before you, but they shall be snares and traps unto you, and scourges in your sides, and thorns in your eyes, until you perish from off this good land which the Spirit of God your guide hath given you. Verse 15, therefore it shall come to pass that all good things are come upon you, which is the Spirit of God your guide promise you, so shall the Spirit of God bring upon you all evil things until he have destroyed you from off this good land, which the Spirit of God your guide have given you. When ye have transgressed the covenant of the Spirit of God your guide, which he commanded you, and have gone and served other gods, and bowed yourselves to them, then shall the anger of the Spirit of God be kindled against you, and ye shall perish quickly from off the good land which he hath given unto you. And I would like to say shalom, and I hope that you got some understanding from this teaching. And if you have any questions, you can always email me at deforestsmith@gmail.com. And thank you, and shalom.